Hello, it's Luke for Divine Star, and I just want to go over quickly the new infinite world generation system, or it's a plugin currently that I'm writing for the engine. I'm keeping it as a plugin because it's not necessarily necessary, and you may want to build a different kind of voxel game that does not involve infinite world generation. But I just want to go over how it works. As you can see here in the last video, it was not working with sunlight. Now it's working with sunlight. So that's pretty sweet. That cube over there is just a debug thing for me. So I'm just gonna fly around for a bit. Let me just check it out. Now this world is pretty crazy in terms of actual generation. Like this is not like a flat world. There's a lot of stuff going on. And these giant pillar things, they cause the sunlight to start all the way directly at the top of the world, which is pretty crappy in terms of performance. But they look cool, so I'm keeping them. There's still some things I need to iron out, but in general, this is pretty awesome. As you can see, everything we just left now is gone, and we keep going this way. They keep disappearing. So yeah, this is pretty awesome. I've been working really hard just building up to this, fixing a lot of problems. I feel like this is the ultimate test of the Voxel engine, or of any Voxel engine, is that if you can just fly around in infinite world. And what's cool about this is that all the columns of the world are being generated in parallel. So this computer has 6 cores, 12 threads, so it can generate 12 columns at a time. And that was just something that was really complicated to set up. I did have something like that working in the previous system, but it just could not work in what I did now. So but if we fly through land that we've already been through, it should load faster. As you can see, it loads like that. So it's pretty sweet. I mean, this is pretty decent sized render distance for what's going on. So real quick, I just want to go over the code for a second, and then I will show you how fast it loads with just a flat world. So here's the actual example. This is all that is going on in the world thread here. So we import the infinite world generator from the plugins folder, and we just pass it a position to watch, which is a float 32 array, which is connected to the camera up here. And before render, we just grab the camera's position and throw it into the array, and that's shared in this thread here. So we pass it the render distance and the generate distance. The render distance is how many chunks you see or how many columns you see, and the generate distance is how many columns are being generated around you. So you may only see a radius of 200 chunks around you, but it's going to generate at least up to 300 if you're standing still. A radius of 300. So be clear about this is a radius, not a just a pure distance. So if you look at the code, the actual infinite world generator, all that's going on is a simple breadth first search mixed with a cellular automata or Moore's neighborhood. And I'll explain that more in a second. But we get the player's position, we get the column that they're in, and the first thing we do is we add that to the breadth first search queue, or the generate queue here. And then we extract that. First check to see if the distance between the player or the camera is greater than the generation distance. And if it is, we just continue. Or if we check to see if it's if this particular column is waiting to be generated, we just don't want to. We have to wait until it's done. Then we check to see if it's greater than the render distance, and if it is, we remove it from the scene. So after all that, we check to see if this column needs to be generated. So we first see if we can load it in, and if we can't, if we can, we check to see this tag value that's attached to that column. We see if this is set, and if it's not, it needs to generate. So if it needs to generate, we tell the engine to generate this in a different thread in a deferred mode. So that means this is going to run, and when it's finally done, we're going to call this callback and then set that chunk or set that column to be done in terms of world gen. Now, if it is all done with world gen, what we're going to do is we're going to check its neighbors to see if it's done with world gen. And then if that's done, we'll add it to the sun propagation. So after all its neighbors have their world gen done and the sun done, then we will actually build it down here. We also keep track of all the columns that we encountered in this search, in this current update. And if we do not, if there's columns in the active columns that are not in this array up here, or this map, sorry, we just remove them. So that's how the columns get removed when you're flying around. So yeah, this is pretty sweet. I'm gonna keep working on this. There's obviously more stuff I need to add. I saw some glitches too that still happen in terms of just the chunk building and rebuilding itself. So I'm just gonna double check everything there. But this is still works pretty awesome, pretty sound. And if we look, it's ridiculously simple. You just get the generator and you make sure you update it. I'm updating every 20 milliseconds here. And the constructor thread, all you do is you pass the world gen a world generator, and the world generator only needs one function. Here's a very basic example. It's just this generate function. Dimension chunk x chunk or xyz, the data dimension. The only thing is that the only difference between generating in the constructor thread and the world thread is that you have to get a special brush from world gen, but you're not going to notice any difference just using it. It works exactly the same. It just operates slightly differently. If I look at it, I attach a property to it and I override the paint function just to do some special stuff. But okay, so real quick, let's just see how fast this loads with a normal flat world. Refresh it. You can see there's still some visual problems happening that I will have to work on. I'm not exactly sure why. But if we look, you can see that the world is being generated around the player like a circle. And works pretty fast. And the world sun is working, doing all that. So yeah, this is pretty sweet. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep working on this. This is really exciting for me. This is something I've been building up to for, I feel like, a couple months. I've been really just digging deep and thinking really hard about the structure and the API of the engine, and I've basically overhauled everything. I made everything faster. I made everything more efficient. even more expandable now. It's totally awesome. The engine is basically unrecognizable to what it was even like a couple months ago. So, yep, I'm getting really close to going from alpha to beta. There's still just some other features that I need to iron out and get out there, and I think we should be good. But anyway, thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, just let me know, and I will see you in the next video.